G'day folks, Mark here. An update over here in Western Australia. Yesterday the upper house of Parliament convened and there was a motion put forward for a review on the Firearms Act 2024. That was passed, very heavily passed. So that's a positive. And so for all the groups that were involved with this process, all the individuals of the process, everyone that's been making a noise and done what they can in whether it's legal action or it's in lobbying or it's in whatever fashion it's been, well done. A pat on the back, you've done very well. I suppose in saying that, I don't want to oversell that point. It is a very, very small victory. Now, I don't want to take away and discredit any of the efforts that people put in, but I equally don't want people to go through the moments of elation that go into even deeper despair. The people, the classic of the drowning man that succumbs to everything on the sight of the vessel that saves him, is going to save him. So what am I talking about? What am I explaining? Well, this process is only a very small victory, and I suppose I'll explain the process if I understand it. I would preface that with I'm not a political analyst. I'm reading what people have said is going to happen, and listen, that certainly takes the shine off it. But there is a little crack of light at the end of the tunnel here, and we should use it. So let me explain what I understand of it. By them passing a motion to put it to review means that there'll be a committee created in the upper house to go through and look at this Firearms Act, and their job is to use proper due diligence and tear it to pieces and have a look at it and see what's right and wrong and all that sort of stuff. And there's lots of things in there that should end up with, okay, this is wrong, and they should recommend that this either be removed or make recommendations to change it, or all sorts of things. That's what should happen in everything going as, I suppose, common sense, or as you'd think as common law. That's what should happen. That process takes generally, or they're given 3 months to do a normal review sort of thing. There's 3 months, but it can have extensions attached to it. So it's not uncommon for it to take up to 12 months. In the time that that's happening, the police don't need to change a thing of what they are doing. They can stay doing on exactly the plan they are up to, because they're still working with what is law, even though it might have been undemocratically created law. It is law still going forward at this moment. And until the upper house decide to do something other than that, whether it's change it or it's put it back or it's dismiss it, it stays as law. So that's why I say it's only a very little thing. At the moment, people are still going to be losing their firearms. Everything stays on the same path. So that is a fairly big issue for a couple of reasons. The first is that now the horse trading will start to, in the review side of things, even when they go through and do that, and there'll be horse trading there, there'll be politics going on there of what they think they should do or shouldn't do sort of stuff. But even once that's done, the review's done, and it goes back to the upper house, then it goes back to the vote again. And once again, even though there are politicians that have done the right thing now, a fairly simple thing to put your hand up and say, okay, we don't really agree with those laws, they should go back for review. That's easy to do. The next time to make you change, actually then the factions, doing the best thing for the party, doing the best thing for the government are going to come into play. So there's a lot more pressure on the next time they do that than there is on this time. And yes, politics is politics. That's where they'll put the little guy under the bus to suit the party or the bigger interest over here, and all the horse trading that goes on in normal politics. So that's one side of it, and there's a bit more to that. But the other thing, and the thing that didn't happen, and this is a little bit the machine of our government, where the government is for the government, there's a few things that are in that place. But is the other thing that didn't happen, and the next chance for it to happen, is the motion for a disallowance. Now, a disallowance is something that then could say, okay, these regulations have been decided they're not okay, and they'll get pushed back. If that happens, then okay, then the police actually have to do something, because then they'd be acting outside the law. what's already been said by the deciding vote, as the numbers as we understand them, which would be the Greens, and the head of the Greens has said he wouldn't really want to do that because that would create such a mess. It would leave things in such a mess. Reading between the lines, yes, it would make a big mess for the police department and for the government. It's already a giant mess for the community. It's already a giant mess for the firearms owners. But as the way our government stands, it's a government for the government. And their mess is much more serious than our mess, the problems that we're suffering. That's something that we've got to change. So, all that being said, very, very, very small slimmer of hope or light at the end of this tunnel, but there is a sliver. And it's now our job, the way I see it at least, it's our job as the community, as the people, as whichever member of people we are, to see if we can get some crowbars into that crack and open it up. Let's see if we can get, whether it's the motion for disallowance to get across the line by encouraging the Greens and the actual Green side of the Greens. I say actual, there's obviously other sides of what that party's about now, but there's still a whole heap of core and a whole heap of the people that are for the Greens that are about saving our flora and fauna and about our natural Western Australia, or in the Greens' case, natural Australia. And yes, I'd reiterate what I've said before. The massive issue we have with conservation or saving the little animals, the bilby, the brush-tailed wallaby, the whatever it is, all the animals that are about to go through a mass extinction unless recreational hunters get proper support. So that means, and recreational, I really hate the term recreational hunter when the fashion, we're actually in some cases talking about the saviour of our wildlife. So many of them have a property letter from just a farm, which they don't actually shoot in the farm. They actually go out into, whether it's the places they can on whatever form, to be able to get rid of foxes and cats and pigs. Foxes and cats chiefly, they are the ones eating all these animals, all of our native flora and fauna. They're extraordinarily effective hunters. They do a great job of it and are literally eating millions of them a year. So the only real barrier, the only one that actually is doing much, is the recreational hunter. Like I said, terrible name for them. If they can't get the property letter because of the way they've tied up the property letters and made to where they're losing their firearms, then you're losing thousands of those people. So hundreds of thousands of animals per year, of feral animals per year, that were being taken are not being taken as we speak because these laws are coming in and because they are in to the largest degree. This transition period has very little to do with transition, it has to do with do as we're telling you right now. A police force, overreaching, we know all that. I'm not going to carry on about it. But that is a real angle that we can work on. That's one of the places we can leverage into things. Let alone the undemocratic fact of process that has been through, where there were literally millions of taxpayers' dollars spent to get smart people, constitutional professors, bits and people like that to actually come up with what should we do with our Firearms Act, what should we actually do with things, what's wrong. Well, they said very little's wrong. We don't need to change much. There's a couple of places we can fix things, change things, that sort of stuff. But working with this act and reviewing it, we can actually make only small changes. There's not much wrong here. The police decided, no, that's not what we want. We don't want that. We want to remove the firearms from the people, so we'll write our own rules. That's not talking about the fact that there was a pretend consultation with very few people at the table actually, and rules that came out that suited the very few people at the table in some senses, and then rules that were just simply thrown in afterwards. After everything got stopped, where we stopped talking about it, where heads in the police department decided to put in their own extra bits and pieces. So then everyone was surprised when all of a sudden it was released, where that wasn't mentioned. Yes, that's because it was put in afterwards. Go through that process properly and realise how undemocratic that is, and realise how unelected government are ruling the roost. They are the elite class that are telling us what to do. Then bring it back to everybody else. Whether it's about your schools, whether it's about four drives, whether it's about national parks, whether it's about fishers, whether it's about farmers, whether it's about you name it, those have the same levers of power, and unless they're told that no, you don't get to pull the levers of power, we the people will say, listen, you pull that lever there and you put that one back there because you're the servant. You are the civil servants, and unless we can stand we have to, well, unless we can stand, then we end up in a country run for the elites, by the elites, and we are just the sheep that all they want is our wool. All they want is our taxes and to convince us to vote them back in. Anyway, I could rant on a lot. What I'm saying is the path we are on right now, there's a very small window of opportunity that we can use. Yes, it's a little tiny win. It hasn't got to the next bit they want to do in a political sense, but relying on the political process by itself is not going to work. We have to make the political process change. We, the people, need to stand up. We need to be louder. Whether that's rallies, whether that's stop work meetings, whether that's, I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to suggest what it is. I am part of a group that's trying to get together, use the legal processes to make sure we get together as something that can try and be part of all this and steer all this sort of stuff in various fashions, but not through us wanting to do it, through us enabling you to do it. You are sitting there right now. You are able to do something. Get louder, talk to your neighbour, get together, talk to your group, talk to you're in a sporting club, talk to them about, listen, what can we do? And that's, be it the sporting shooters, or that's being, to be honest, four-wheel drivers, whatever. Talk about what we can do. Let's get together. Let's say enough is enough and we need to do more. We need you to listen to us and work out ways to do that. There is lots of suggestions that I've made over time. I hope to be able to steer more of that, or I hope to be able to enable louder speakers than me, better speakers than me, to be able to help enable you do that side of things. But really, like I said, this is about you, the people. Time to stand up, time to not be a sheep. Let's do more, let's let them know, let's make a lot of noise in a hurry, and let's see if we can either convince enough of the people to not only put the disallowance forward, but to get it pushed forward properly, to say, okay, they've made a mistake and let's fix it as fast as possible. As for how to fix it, that sort of process, listen, very complicated. There's already a giant mess, and I fully appreciate that. It's just going to get worse. The deeper they go into that, and that's my fear of the police department, they'll keep pushing ahead as far as they can, hoping to steamroll over everyone, and then you can just flatten it afterwards and don't worry about the mess underneath there. That's still going to be a giant mess, and if history proves itself, that will still end up being even bigger still. So while politicians particularly are more worried about just the next election and not so much about what's beyond that point, or worried about the paycheck or whatever deals are happening right now, rather than beyond that, that's a concern. We need to make them worry about this stuff right now. And I suppose, without me carrying on too much more, I truly believe we can do this, but we need to wake everyone up and we need to start to make a noise. We need to start to create more of a problem that can't be simply put under the rug. If we do it now, what I was getting to is down below is Steve Harrison at that stage was just Shooters Union delegate over here in Western Australia. So he stood for the West Australian Shooters Union, wrote up a set of guidelines as to how to grandfather things. So there's a whole list down there, I'll put it down below, as to a way, if we went to that place there, then we give everyone a breathing space to not create more mess. There is simply revert back to rules that weren't working also. Revert back to rules that didn't have a problem. This is, I would reiterate, in the firearms side of things, statistically a not grounded reason for doing any of what they've done. Apart from highlighted circumstances where the largest thing we keep on finding is negligence on the police department, them not enacting the rules they already have, we just don't have a problem when it comes to firearms, statistically in comparison to so many other things. I heard the other day statistics saying that even horse riding kills a lot more people than firearms do on any given year. So it isn't about saving people. It isn't about making anyone safer. It is about a different agenda. But so we could push it back to that place there and deal with the amount of mess. There is mess already, but deal with the amount of mess and make less cleanup. And then I'm not a political analyst. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know a full path forward, but I'm sure there's people out there with very good strategy of the way forward. But it starts with us standing up. It starts with us getting louder. It starts with us trying to get this country back. So I'll reiterate, part of a group. We're doing stuff. There's the GoFundMe of what to try and give working capital to this group. There is a sign-up sheet for an interest to become a member of this. I'm pushing them flat out to get all the official stuff done, constitution done, registered organisation, get it all done properly so we have the right foundations to go forward, so it can't turn to something a behemoth that we don't have control over, or you don't have control over. It is for the people. But this is actually, this video is much more about, listen, for all those people that think, hey, yay, we've won. No, not at all. But yes, it is a step forward. Everyone that's been involved that has helped do that in all forms, legal action, lobbying, talking to the minister, in whatever level, talking together, starting to make more of a noise, the groundswell that's coming, well done, but let's not back off. And let's not see this as anything more than a tiny step back by the government. They may well be hunching down, ready to push back. We've got to hunch down harder and go back over the top of that. Anyway, guys, that's my video there. I'm sorry to take away the elation, but I really need you to understand where we sit, and there is a way forward, but there's a lot of work to do. So let's get to it. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. We'll catch you next time.